My sister-in-law spent 2 years telling family I was neglecting my kids because I worked full-time. Then my oldest made the National Honor Roll and my sister-in-law's stay-at-home parenting style came up at Thanksgiving. I want to start by saying something that I feel strongly about. This story is not about working parents versus stay-at-home parents. Both are valid. Both are hard. Both can produce wonderful, struggling, complicated, brilliant, difficult, thriving kids, and neither choice is a moral statement about who you are as a person. I believe this fully. I said this to my sister-in-law more than once. She disagreed. Linda married my husband's brother about 8 years ago. She's not a bad person, I want to say that too. She has real warmth in some ways, is genuinely funny when she's relaxed, and clearly loves her kids. But she also arrived into our family with a very fixed set of beliefs about the right way to raise children, and those beliefs centered almost entirely on maternal presence, and she was not shy about communicating how those beliefs applied to other people's choices. I'm a registered nurse. I've been one for 15 years. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week at a hospital in our city. On the days I work, my kids are with my mother, their grandmother, who they adore, or in after-school programs they also adore. My husband takes over when he's not traveling for work. We are not leaving our children unattended. We are not shipping them off to strangers. We have a village, as they say, and it is a good and loving village. None of this seemed to matter to Linda. It started small, the way these things always do. At the first family gathering after my older child started kindergarten, Linda asked, in the particular tone that is technically a question but is functionally a judgment, "Oh, who takes care of them on your work days?" I told her. She made a small sound, sympathetic and slightly pitying, and said she could never imagine letting someone else do the raising. She wasn't technically saying anything about me. She was just describing herself. But everyone at the table knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew we knew. This continued for 6 years. Comments at Christmas about whether my kids were okay because they seemed a little clingy. Comments at Easter about how her own children had never had separation anxiety because she was always there. Comments at birthday parties about studies she'd read. She was always citing studies she'd read about the importance of maternal presence in early childhood development. My mother-in-law began echoing some of the concern, gently, which hurt more than Linda's more direct comments did, because I knew she was doing it out of actual worry rather than judgment. My husband defended me consistently and firmly. He never wavered on that, but he couldn't be present for every quiet aside at the kitchen counter or every meaningful pause in conversation. And I had made the decision, early on, not to get into extended arguments about it. I didn't want my kids to grow up hearing their mother and aunt fight about child-rearing at every family gathering. I didn't want the energy of every holiday to be that. I smiled, I redirected, and I went home and did what I always do. I went to work. I came home. I helped with homework. I made dinner or made sure dinner happened. I went to recitals and science fairs and the terrible middle school play where my daughter had 4 lines and delivered all of them with total conviction. I parented, thoroughly, without an audience. My eldest daughter is 13 now. She is also, as of this past fall, a member of the National Junior Honor Society, an organization that requires students to maintain a GPA above 3.5 while demonstrating leadership, service, and character. She was inducted at a ceremony in October that made me ugly cry in the 3rd row of a school auditorium, and I am not ashamed of it. A younger son, who is 10, tested into his school's gifted and talented program last spring. This past fall, he was selected to represent his school at a regional science fair with a project about water filtration that he designed almost entirely himself, with only occasional guidance from me and a lot of YouTube videos about chemistry that he watched voluntarily because he is that kind of kid. Thanksgiving this year was at my in-laws' house, as it usually is. It's a loud, full house, both sides, lots of cousins, the full holiday production. Sometime around the second course, my mother-in-law, who I genuinely love and who I think has been quietly reconsidering some of her earlier expressed concerns, brought up both kids' accomplishments. She was warm and enthusiastic and genuine about it, and it started a real conversation. People asking my daughter about the Honor Society, asking my son about the science fair, both kids lighting up in the way kids do when adults ask them genuine questions about things they care about. Linda was quiet during all of this. Not cold, she congratulated the kids directly, which I give her credit for, but quiet, reserved in a way I hadn't seen from her at a family gathering before. About an hour later, a different conversation happened. Linda's son, who is 11 and who she has raised with complete, unwavering presence and dedication, had been caught by her husband hiding a report card. Not just a bad grade on one test. A full semester report card slipped behind his dresser that showed he was failing 2 subjects and had been marked for several behavioral concerns by his teachers. The hiding had gone on for nearly 3 months. None of this came out accusatorially at Thanksgiving. It came out because Linda's husband mentioned it to my husband privately, and my husband, who has a limited poker face, had a visible reaction that prompted questions. I want to be careful here because I genuinely do not take pleasure in a child struggling academically. That's not a victory. Kids have hard seasons. Kids hide things from their parents regardless of how present those parents are. It would be wrong of me to frame that child's report card as evidence of anything about Linda as a mother. But I will say this, the room had a particular quality after that information circulated. The contrast of the two conversations, my kids' achievements celebrated at the table, and then this quieter moment with Linda's son, was not something anyone manufactured or arranged. It just happened. Life just arranged it that way at that particular Thanksgiving table in that particular year. I said nothing about it, not a word. I passed the sweet potatoes. I asked my daughter to tell her great uncle about the Honor Society again because he'd missed the first telling. I refilled people's glasses. I was the person at that table I have always tried to be. Linda made no comments about my parenting at Thanksgiving this year. Not one. I noticed. My husband noticed. Neither of us said anything about it to each other until the drive home when he reached over and squeezed my hand on the interstate and said, very quietly, "You've always been an incredible mom. I just want you to know I see it." That meant more to me than anything else that happened that day. More than the Honor Society, more than the silence, more than all of it. Work if work is right for you. Stay home if staying home is right for you. Love your kids loudly and specifically and show up for them in whatever form your life allows. The rest has a way of working itself out, sometimes right on schedule, sometimes at a Thanksgiving dinner table in front of everyone who ever doubted you.